Hello everyone, it is Saturday. I actually came into the shop to do some race car stuff, but it's too wet. It's too wet and windy and rainy outside for that to happen. And so I've got a couple of hours spare. So I thought, finally, I've got some time where I can sit down and make progress on my own project, which is this. I am building for myself, in my own time, and experimenting along the way, an amp that Fender never made. Now, regular viewers of the channel will know this project and know what I'm doing. New members, new subscribers, new viewers may not be up to date with this. So, little bit of a backstory. Christmas special 2 years ago, I resurrected from the absolute brink a silver panel Bassman 135, the least desirable of all the Bassman. It was, it was a rat toilet, it was a rust bucket, it was awful. And we brought it back, and that's now my gigging bass amp. As part of that process, I was given by a very kind subscriber an original Bassman 135 head cabinet that he had spare. And we put the original chassis into that cabinet because that was in nicer condition than the one that the amp came with. I've since had that cabinet restored, head shell, new Tolex, new Growcroft, etc. And so that's sitting out the front. I thought, well, what am I going to build into that? Obviously, it needs something. So I decided to build myself an amp that Fender didn't make, which was the 100 watt Bassman in the black panel era. The 100 watters came later on in the silver panel. The most powerful black panel one you could get was 50 watt. So there was never 100 watt, which is what I've decided to build. And I'm really looking forward to it. And so I'm building it into a twin reverb chassis, an off-the-shelf one. It was a B stock one. It's got this little dent down here. Hopefully that can be shown. That's fine for me. I don't care. What changes am I making? Well, obviously it's got to have a 100 watt power stage in it. That's fine. Adding an IEC socket down here. So I don't want a hardwired mains cable. Rather than having all the filter caps under a doghouse on the top side of the chassis or the underside, whichever way you want to look at it, they're now on the main board. So my filter stack is on here, and there's various noise improvements that you get from doing that, plus you can optimize your layout around it. Now, being that this wasn't a blank chassis, it's a pre-punched and drilled off-the-shelf twin reverb chassis. Obviously we've got two extra valve socket holes for the preamp, which we're not using. But it means I can use whichever ones I want to minimise wire runs to and from the board. On the two channels, I'm going to be running a mid control. The 50 watt Bassman didn't have mid controls, but obviously I've got the holes in the chassis. I would like that extra control over EQ. So we're adding those in. And this is kind of how far we've got. So sockets are in, pots are in along the front, transformers are all in. And these aren't any particularly fancy transformers. They're just off-the-shelf ones, which I used on a different project and that I'm now repurposing for this. So, I'm not spending a lot of money getting this thing up and running, but it's fun. There's a lot of things in here that some of you will be saying, well, why are you doing it that way? And why aren't you doing it this way? And that's unusual. Normally you do it like this. Well, it's an experimentation. It's a proof of concept. And I'm doing it in such a way that it's easy for me to make changes down the line. So I'm not engineering myself into a corner, as it were. So it's a very simple amplifier, to be honest with you. It's not a complex build, but it is, a a really fun project. But I don't get to spend a lot of time doing this because it's a personal project, and personal projects always come second to the paid work that I have here in the shop. So it does mean that I don't get onto this stuff on a regular basis. There are often many things above it. Of course, there's the amplifier builds, there's the standard repair and service work, there's the more complex repair and service work, there's the restorations, there's the pedal builds as well, all of that kind of stuff. Plus I also have a personal life. You know, I do other things. I've got hobbies. So often my own personal amp builds are the least priority for me. But when I do finally manage to get a snippet of time in my busy schedule, I manage to get on and get stuff done. And it's fun. And so that's what I'm doing. Now, obviously for Rift builds, I have to, I'm in the UK/EU, so, and I have to build with lead-free solder. But for my own projects, I don't. And I went to order some of the, sorry, I thought someone was coming in then. My preferred lead-free solder that I get. So I normally use Felder, which is a German brand, for my lead-free. And they do have a very nice, albeit slightly expensive, 60/40, 2% flux. I think it's 2.5% flux, actually. Leaded solder, which I can use on vintage repairs and bits and pieces like that. But anyway, I went to reorder it and they were out of stock. But RS had this stuff in stock, which again is, it's a 60/40. This is a 2.2% flux. It's a 1 mil diameter, which is what I like to use. So I'm giving it a go. And I don't have any qualms about using it in my own stuff. Obviously, it's nice to work with leaded solder. Lead-free solder, to get stuff that's nice to work with, you've got to spend a lot of money. It's very expensive, and it's one of my biggest bugbears about how expensive it is to use. But, being in the UK EU, as an electrical equipment manufacturer, I have to use it. I've got no choice. But for my own stuff, I don't have to. So, I can use... and I've had quite a bit of fun with this. So, yeah, if you're wondering why I'm not using my regular solder, it's because I can use this and I'm trying it out. And I'm having a bit of fun with it. Having a bit of fun. So what's next on this? Well, as you say, I've wired in the output sockets, mostly. And the next job, well, there's two things I can do now. I can either do my preamp sockets, or I can do the front panel. And I think I'm going to do the front panel. Yeah. So the first thing for me then will be, if I fold the table forward, these pots aren't perfectly lined up, so I'm going to square those off. Come down and you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to line these up because my OCD doesn't allow them to be anyway. I'm going to do my interconnects between the pots. Well, that failed, didn't it? And then I'm actually changing the grounding scheme on this. So I'm going to be running bus bars over the top. Not to the back of the pots. I don't use the back of the pots as a chassis connection. I do run a bus bar for the grounds. Going to connect them all together, and they're going to ground up over here to the chassis, along with everything else. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to time lapse what I'm doing for a little bit, but this is bonus footage. So don't expect standard Rift quality content, because it is my Saturday and I'm here for a bit of fun. And you get what you're given. Right. Front panel done. Well, at least the tone stacks are done. I'm not entirely happy with the bus bar. It does need a little bit of tweaking. I'm tempted to have one this side and one this side, and then link them together with a cloth wire. So there's not, even with the pots going in, I won't have a support for it here, so it is a bit loose. Unless for this channel I use isolated sockets, then I can add a support for it there and line it all up properly, and then I can have everything truly grounding over here rather than, you know, these inputs grounding here at the chassis rather than at a single point. But it's experimentation, we're working it out. If I can make it work like this, I can. There's still a little bit of tweaking to go. But overall, I mean, for my own stuff, it's fine. But you know what my OCD is like. So, but we're close now, we're close. But I'm happy with the way the tone stack wiring's gone. You saw on this channel, the bass channel, I had a direct shot from my board outlet directly up to the treble pot there, which was great. On this one, I did have two ways I could have done it in terms of the route that the wires took. I could have come up and then along, or the way I decided to go was to come along the board and then straight up. Reason I've done that is because there are no other. Let me just check my wiring. There are no wires coming from here, from any of these eyelets, up in this direction. So I've decided to run along there. The only thing that's on the other side of the board is the ground bus, of course. So the next one, so yeah, that worked out great, I think. And of course, shielded wire over to the sockets as well. So that'll be fine. This wire here, coming from this junction here, the 220Ks, of course, goes up to my bias pot, which I still need to do the wiring on and work all that out. But that was a good chunk of an hour, just under an hour to do that. Overall, pretty happy. The potting interconnects went pretty well. Yeah, overall, quite happy with that progress so far. Gonna have a spot of lunch. Might do a little bit more. We'll see. Few tiny jobs here and there, but I got that side of the chassis done now in terms of that part of the job. So the next thing would either be the bias pot, as I said, and the bias supply. Might leave that till later on. I might wire up V1 and V2 over here, so the bass channel. That might be something I do next. We'll see. But yeah, we'll leave that here for you guys, and you might see an update on this quite soon, or it might be, you know, a couple of weeks, couple of months, who knows. It's next time I get some spare time on it. But there's no rush for me to get this job done. It's my own personal thing for a bit of fun. But yeah, that's how it's coming on so far. So I hope you enjoyed that bit of extra bonus content. And I'll catch you all at the next one.